Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a career that, well, it's really defined by extremes, isn't it?
Hmm.
Raw pace, pure speed, but also, let's call it beautiful chaos at times. Frustrating periods, too.
Yeah, definitely.
We're doing a deep dive into Umesh Yadav's test career. He's one of the more layered figures in India's recent fast bowling story.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating career to unpack because, if you just glance at the numbers, you might think, okay, solid, decent.
Right.
But that doesn't really tell the whole story, does it? To really get his contribution, you can't just look at the stats. You've got to put it in context. Think about the competition he faced, the era he played in, and maybe most importantly, the specific jobs he was picked to do.
Okay.
So that's our mission today, really, trying to figure out the real value Umesh Yadav brought to the Indian side.
All right, let's get those basic stats out there first, just for the record. 57 test matches,
Yeah.
170 wickets, and his bowling average is floating right around the 31 mark, give or take.
Pretty much spot on, about 30.95, I think.
Okay, so let me just jump in with a slightly awkward question right away. If we're talking about legacies, does that average of 31 kind of, well, tell us most of what we need to know, especially compared to the absolute greats?
That's fair, but I'd argue no, because that number, that 31, it doesn't tell you where those wickets came from or when or who he was up against just to get on the park. It's a solid
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a career that, well, it's really defined by extremes, isn't it?
Hmm.
Raw pace, pure speed, but also, let's call it beautiful chaos at times. Frustrating periods, too.
Yeah, definitely.
We're doing a deep dive into Umesh Yadav's test career. He's one of the more layered figures in India's recent fast bowling story.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating career to unpack because, if you just glance at the numbers, you might think, okay, solid, decent.
Right.
But that doesn't really tell the whole story, does it? To really get his contribution, you can't just look at the stats. You've got to put it in context. Think about the competition he faced, the era he played in, and maybe most importantly, the specific jobs he was picked to do.
Okay.
So that's our mission today, really, trying to figure out the real value Umesh Yadav brought to the Indian side.
All right, let's get those basic stats out there first, just for the record. 57 test matches,
Yeah.
170 wickets, and his bowling average is floating right around the 31 mark, give or take.
Pretty much spot on, about 30.95, I think.
Okay, so let me just jump in with a slightly awkward question right away. If we're talking about legacies, does that average of 31 kind of, well, tell us most of what we need to know, especially compared to the absolute greats?
That's fair, but I'd argue no, because that number, that 31, it doesn't tell you where those wickets came from or when or who he was up against just to get on the park. It's a solid average, no doubt. But his legacy, I think, isn't really about pure statistical dominance. It's more about the role he played. He was like a bridge.
A bridge, explain that.
Yeah, a transitional bridge, helping India move towards becoming this pace powerhouse we see now. He wasn't just surviving in the era of Bumrah and Shami starting to emerge, he was actually helping create the conditions for that dominance, especially at home.
Okay, I like that framing.
Yeah.
Transitional bridge. Let's dig into what made him so effective then. When he was on, what was the biggest weapon in his arsenal?
Oh, easy. Sheer pace and aggression. Just
Good.
unapologetic pace. When you look back at his peak years, he was consistently hitting that 145 KPR mark, sometimes higher. And it wasn't just the speed itself.
No.
It was the bounce he got with it. Steep, awkward bounce, even on pitches that looked pretty dead. That genuinely troubled batsman. He was properly quick, one of the fastest India had at the time.
And this is why you got that tag, right? The home specialist. Now, for someone listening who thinks, Indian pitches are just flat roads for spinners,
Yeah.
how did that pace make him so good in India?
Okay. This is key. It's about how he used the conditions, specifically reverse swing.
Right, the old ball.
Exactly. On those Indian pitches, which can be abrasive, the ball gets scuffed up pretty quickly. A bowler with his kind of pace and his specific wrist action can make that old scuffed ball dart around violently.
So the speed amplifies the reverse.
Massively. The trajectory is just so much flatter and faster. It gets on the batsman incredibly quickly. He wasn't just relying on a bit of conventional seam movement early on. He used his pace and bounce to make that older ball a serious weapon, often bowling in tandem with spinners or sometimes even leading the charge.
So he was the sort of The impact bowler, the guy the captain throws the ball to when they need to break a partnership late in the day.
That's exactly it. He gave India options at home. They weren't just waiting for the pitch to break up for the spinners. He had that firepower, that ability to conjure something out of nothing with reverse swing, something, historically not many Indian pacers could do reliably, spell after spell.
And the absolute peak of this home dominance, we have to talk about it, that 10-wicket haul. Hyderabad, 2018, against the West Indies.
Oh, yeah. Unforgettable.
6 wickets in the first innings, 4 in the second. That puts him in very rare company among Indian fast bowlers.
It really does. A handful of guys have done that. It was a career-defining performance, wasn't it? Showed exactly what he could do when everything clicked.
And when you think about where he came from, it adds another layer, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Vidarbha, not exactly a traditional cricketing powerhouse like Mumbai or Karnataka back then.
No academy background, really.
Right. No easy pathway. He had injuries. He had to fight like hell for selection against some truly immense talent that was emerging. So that background, that resilience, makes that 10-fer and his longevity in general feel even more significant.
Okay, before we tackle the elephant in the room, the consistency issue, let's take a little detour. Because maybe the only thing more surprising than his wicket-taking spells is batting sometimes.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? For a guy known for pure aggression with the ball, some of his most talked about moments involved him holding a bat. Pure, wonderful chaos.
Absolute chaos theory with a cricket bat. We have to mention that innings against South Africa in 2019, the record-setting one.
Oh, the 10-ball blitz. Yeah, 31 runs off 10 balls. Just
Yeah.
think about that. Walking out as a number 9 or 10 and just deciding, right, forget blocking. I'm going for a record.
What was it, 3 sixes?
I think so, yeah. 3 sixes and 10 balls. It's hilarious, but it's also kind of memorable, isn't it? It sums up that fearless, high-risk, high-reward approach he had. He wasn't just there to survive. He was going to attack.
You can just imagine the captain pacing nervously behind the bowler's arm.
Mm-hmm.
But look, that kind of full-throttle approach, it often comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We have to talk about the main criticism leveled against him, inconsistency.
Yeah.
How did that actually show up on the field? How did it impact the team?
Yeah, that was always the knock on him. And it mostly came down to control. Test cricket is brutal. It punishes any lack of control over line and length.
Because look at his pace.
Exactly. When he was just slightly off, maybe searching for swing or trying too hard, that high pace meant the runs could leak very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And think about who he was competing with.
Right.
Bumrah, Shami, Ishant in his prime, later Siraj. If you started leaking runs, even for a short spell, that was a massive red flag for the selectors. Your potential for brilliance didn't matter as much if the control wasn't there consistently.
So it sounds like he was maybe the perfect specialist bowler for certain conditions. But does that label, home specialist, actually limit his overall legacy? Is that just a nice way of saying he couldn't quite cut it consistently away from home?
Well, that's the core tension of his whole career, isn't it? Look, he definitely had his moments overseas, flashes of brilliance in England, some good spells in Australia. He wasn't bad overseas, but his overall effectiveness was definitely more mixed. When conditions didn't favor reverse swing or when the team needed someone to just hold an end and build pressure with discipline, that wasn't always his strength. So he wasn't always that reliable spearhead you could bank on in, say, swinging conditions in England or on bouncy tracks in Australia compared to some of the others. That made him a bit of a gamble for the management sometimes, especially away from home when control was paramount.
And we keep coming back to it, the competition. The sheer pressure for places. We're not just talking about 1 or 2 other good bowlers. We're talking about a golden generation of Indian fast bowling emerging right around him.
Yeah. Absolutely world-class talent. Bumrah, Shami finding incredible consistency, Ishant's resurgence, then Siraj bursting onto the scene.
So any dip in form, any niggle or injury.
Instantly costly. The depth India developed during his peak years was just phenomenal, unprecedented really. It was brutal for the individuals competing, but amazing for Indian cricket overall.
So if you put it all together, despite his obvious skills, his pace, his ability to turn a game at home, he often ended up more in a supporting role, not quite the automatic first pick.
That's probably fair, especially as the others established themselves as truly elite, all-conditions bowlers. He was excellent, yes, a genuine asset. But he was competing against guys hitting truly world-class standards week in, week out. His career really mirrors that incredible positive transformation in India's pace resources.
Okay, so let's zoom out then, looking at the whole picture. What does this complex, high-contrast career actually mean for the history books of Indian cricket? Where does Umesh Yadav fit?
I think he's part of a really crucial generation. The one that truly cemented India's status as a team with genuine pace depth, home and away. He helped bridge the gap.
The bridge again?
Yeah, bridging that gap from relying heavily on spinners, especially at home, to having a multi-dimensional pace attack. He was vital in that transition period. Ishant Sharma was heading towards the end of his amazing career, and Bumrah and Shami were becoming the absolute spearheads. Umesh filled a critical role during that time.
He kept the quality high during that handover.
Exactly. He ensured there wasn't a drop-off, particularly in home conditions, while the next wave fully matured. He was a foundational piece in building this current pace dominance.
And there's another aspect to his legacy, too, beyond the Indian team itself. We touched on his roots in Vidarbha,
Yes, absolutely crucial. Don't underestimate that.
being the first